Hi, welcome to this presentation on AI and all the hype about AI and how it's going to affect our profession, specifically if you work in the architecture and construction industry. My name is Bruno Martorelli. I'm a BIM manager, but I was trained as an architect in Mexico. I graduated in Mexico, then I lived in and worked in South Africa for many years. Then I moved to the Middle East, where I had a chance to work in big mega projects in Kuwait and Bahrain. That gave me a lot of exposure to BIM. And afterwards, I became a BIM manager and I moved to the United Kingdom. And now I'm in Ireland. So I've been exposed to big projects in BIM and technology. And I did a master's in Barcelona as well in computational design that exposed me to AI for the first time back in the pandemic in 2020. And since then, I'm also the founder of Digital Flow, which is an AI think tank for the built environment here in Ireland. As a way of introduction for this presentation, I wanted to start going through the process of how architects have evolved through the profession of architecture has evolved through time. My dad is an architect in Mexico City, and he's an old school architect. So he used to draw drawings by hand, and he will spend hours on the drawing table, and there were pieces of art. I remember looking at the drawings, and they were incredible, all by hand. And I remember when I was a kid, around probably 11 years old, he took me to a basement of an office building and to meet this guy. His name was Carlos, and he was one of the first architects in Mexico to start producing drawings in AutoCAD. And he took me to this office and he told me, this person here, Carlos, is working in AutoCAD and he can do the work of a team of 6 or 7 people just by himself by working in AutoCAD. And at that time, this person was making a lot of money. This was around 1992, 1993. And yeah, that was how the architect, what I could call the architect 1.0, augmented by the CAD technology, was producing drawings at a faster pace and with more precision than the architect that used to draw. And then when I started studying architecture, the Architect 2.0, what I will call the Architect 2.0, was starting to develop, which was all the BIM, building information modeling, the Revit started coming up, ArchiCAD, and with that, a lot of parametric solutions as well, using low-code programming to achieve shapes and forms that we wouldn't be able to do before, and using formulas to drive those forms efficiently, and eventually it transformed into generative design in the late 2010s, more or less. Generative design started happening. I remember going to Autodesk University in 2014, and there was a lot of hype around generative design already, which is a kind of AI if you think about it. And eventually that led to Architect 3.0, which is where we are now, with the AI frontier, basically. And I believe, and this is the reason for my presentation, I believe this transformation will be bigger than BIM, CAD, and everything else combined. It's going to change the way we operate, the way we behave, and everything in between. And I want to show this slide, which basically shows the willingness of people to engage with AI to save time. If you look at the first figures, 80% of employees would like to AI to summarize their meetings and action items to plan their day. So nobody wants to do the boring stuff. Everyone wants to do the stuff that really matters and don't waste time doing admin. And AI is great for this. If you look at the second figure, 86% of employees welcome AI to help them find the right answers and information. Again, who wants to spend 1 hour, 2 hours looking for information on the internet when you can ask an AI like ChatGPT or Gemini to look for the information for you and have it in 5 minutes instead of half an hour or an hour. And 73% will be comfortable using AI for creative work. Again, who wants to spend time doing Photoshop in a drawing that you have to present to a client, and you're under pressure when maybe AI wants to do it for you. And I just want to show you, it's important that to notice that there's always a fringe of people that don't can kind of use AI. It looks like it's around the 20% mark. This is a study done by Dell. And you'll always have that fringe of people that they don't want to participate or they don't want to get involved. And the fact is, I will encourage you to be on the other side of the fence, because no one's stopping this revolution. It's happening anyway. We might as well participate and shape it the way that is coherent with our profession. I just want to show you another slide that's very impressive of what's happening at the moment. So companies are achieving revenue with less people. If you look at the beginning of the chart in 1990s, you required around 8 people to generate $1 million in revenue. This is for the S&P 500, which is the 500 biggest companies in the US. And that number comes down to almost 2 people in 2020, which shows that companies are becoming more efficient with AI, among other technologies, but mostly with AI. So how does this translate to our profession? Well, I've seen it firsthand. I've been working in big firms my whole life. And when I was in South Africa, I was working for a company that was producing constantly concept designs for presentation to clients with elevations, plans, CGIs, Revit models. And around that time, people were taking, with a team of 5 people, where you had like the lead architect, and then you had people drawing and the CGI expert and so on, was taking 6 to 9 weeks to prepare a presentation for a client. And that number came down around the 2000s with the advent of Revit and parametric design you were able to produce something in 2 to 4 weeks, more or less, with a smaller team, which included probably just the CGI guy, the technical guy, and the lead design guy. And now this happened actually in my office like last week. We had a concept, the same volume of work, CGIs, videos, Revit models, plans, elevation sections in 2 to 3 days. How? Basically, just with the associate is one of the directors giving guidelines for the design, and the other person operating a series of AI models using Revit and Twinmotion, among other things, to generate the renderings. 2 to 3 days. So as you can see, there's a clear trend that we're producing information faster, more accurately, with the help of tools, of digital tools. So how is this going to affect us in our profession as architects? And just want to say that AI is not going to replace us. This is Satya Nadella, which is the CEO of Microsoft, and he says, AI is not here to replace human creativity, but to augment it and enhance it. So that's the bottom line. We're not going to be replaced, but some of our jobs are going to change, and that's a fact. Before I go into how this is going to affect us, I want to speak about context window in AI models. I am a big fan of RPG games, and I'm playing, for the first time ever, I'm playing an AI-generated game, which is a text-only game that generates the story as you go along, and you kind of participate in the generation of the story. It's quite fun. But the problem with this is that as your story becomes longer, the AI context window, which is basically the amount of information that the AI can take at one shot to give you an answer, is limiting the answer. So as your story becomes longer, the AI starts chopping pieces of your story because it cannot fit the whole story into the context window. So the story of your character becomes inconsistent. So the bigger the context window, the more information the AI can take to give you an answer. So a long story will require a big context window. This context window is currently sitting at the top level with 1 million tokens of Gemini, and is projected to be 36 million in 1 year's time. And you look at this graphic, shows the evolution in the last year of how the context window has been expanded. This is big stuff, because if your context window is big enough, you can ask the AI to, read a treatise on chemistry and become a chemistry expert, for example, in one go, because if the context window is big enough. So the training becomes more powerful. And this leads us to AI agents. What are AI agents? AI agents are AI models trained in a specific way to deliver a specific outcome, like a chemistry expert, for example. And I listened to a talk given by Eric Schmidt, who is the ex-CEO of Google. And speaking about AI agents, he says this is the big revolution, because if you combine AI agents with a big enough context window, you can generate experts in any field to help you with almost anything. And he says, imagine a non-arrogant programmer, software developer, that can actually do what you want to do, and you don't have to pay all that money too. So basically, it's an AI model that maybe requires a subscription, but it's not a salary of a person. And there's also an infinite supply of these programmers. So you could have different software developers developing different pieces of software for you at the same time for minimal cost. And this when Eric was saying in this talk, when AI agents get deployed at the scale, at a bigger scale in the world we live in, it's going to change completely. And it's going to be a revolution that nobody really knows what's going to happen. Because suddenly you're going to have a team of AI agents helping you to do whatever you want. And I found this in LinkedIn the other day, and it made me laugh, because at the bottom you see there's obviously the usual conception of the boss giving instructions, and then the leader leading by example, and then the introvert. I'm an introvert, so it kind of made me laugh, because I prefer working, on my own. But then suddenly with AI, you can have a team of people, a team of AI agents helping you to work, and then you do the same amount of work as a big team in a big office. And it's just incredible. It's going to change the whole dynamic of how we work. I want to show you this. This, for example, is a guy I follow on Medium. He trained an AI on a weekend to do animations for games. And this is something that would have been unthinkable a few months ago. And now it's been doable with open source models like Llama from Meta or Hermes. And they're achieving results that they're basically training AI agents to do things that were the job of people a few years ago. And this is, for example, another one that there was a big hype a few months ago, because there was an AI that was doing software developing. And this is from yesterday, and apparently there's a new AI model that can write software better than that one. So this is developing at a pace that is just massive, and it's going to take over the jobs of many people. And currently in my office, the way we work with projects is we have this is what the team looks like, more or less. Obviously, these are not the people. These are just like random faces I found. So you have a CGI specialist, you have an interior designer who is creative, you have the architect, basically also very creative. You have a BIM coordinator that checks that the models are happening, that the information flow is correct, etc. And then you have an architectural technologist who's doing the actual drawing. This is going to change, because in 1 year's time from now, I promise you, there's going to be something like this, which is the creative people will remain, because the creative people will be impossible to replace with AI, but the technical people will fall apart. So basically, the presentations will be done by AI, the BIM coordination will be done by AI, and there will be an AI doing drawings for you. And you'll have a team of 2 doing the work of 5 or 6 people. So what's going to happen to the architectural firm or the engineering firm is going to become smaller, because you're going to have less people doing the same amount of work. And there are many areas that the AI agents are going to disrupt in the architectural industry, and one is generative design. We've been talking, as I was saying at the beginning, generative design has been around for a while, but not until now we've been able to really harness the power of generative design with AI that can learn from information from your practice to actually give you the best solution in record set time. Okay? This screenshot is from Finch, which is a web application that's been, I think, in beta testing at the moment, but it's going to be live soon. Automated space planning as well is another variation of generative design, but it will enable you to quickly create iterations. These screenshots are from WeWork, and they develop automated space planning to be deployed at scale when they were expanding. And this was a few years ago, and this is changing all the time. And the tools are there for the taking. This is another one, intelligent visualization. So this one is, I did this myself. So I created a custom GPT model within ChatGPT to help me create models, videos from renderings in Runway, and the result is amazing. If you look at, I gave the AI a screenshot, and then it created a video out of it. I mean, if you show this to a client, how long would this take for a CGI person to do? Maybe 2 days, 3 days perhaps. I did it in 15 minutes with AI. Predictive modeling. This is another big field because this is going to tie in with energy efficiency, structural integrity, environmental impact. We're going to be able to take better decisions based on all these factors that have been considered by AI models for us quicker than ever before. This is a screenshot from Team Food, which I recommend you follow on the internet. Automated drafting, this is a big one. I had a chat with these guys from Swap. They're an Israeli company, very, very nice people. And they are developing a software that studies the way you draft and then drafts for you. So basically you get the Revit model, and then it generates from the Revit model sections, elevations, and everything, full set of drawings out of the blue. And so what does this mean? You're going to have a full set of drawings in record time. And this is going to change completely the way we operate. There's another one that I've been working with, which is I've been thinking, how do you actually, can you talk to a Revit model so you can, instead of operating Revit through the interface, can you just dictate to the Revit model and see? Well, this is more or less the early version of that because it's not a speech, but it's text. And so I'm asking AI model to generate a sofa for a Revit model. And it generated this sofa like in a few minutes, and then I was able to input their sofa into a model in live time. And this will take, if you want to model that sofa, it will take you maybe 3-4 hours. I had it in a few minutes. So there are many other tools. Obviously, these are just a few that, due to the time constraints, I feel like they were the most interesting ones. But there are many fields, especially the technical aspects of our profession, are gonna be affected by AI. And there's obviously many ethical concerns to this. And the first one is transparency. So these AI models are trained with certain data that can give them a certain edge, and people have to know how these AI models have been trained. So transparency is very important when we start using these models that are going to permeate the whole of our work. Data privacy as well. So whenever there's AI involved, there's a lot of data flying through, personal data. So we need to make sure that our data is protected. It's a big problem because everyone can say, yeah, the data is protected, and there's no way to prove it otherwise. Bias mitigation. So how are we going to stop the AI model from leaning towards a certain political angle or a certain cultural bias and be rather neutral? And this is very hard to implement. And the final one, and the most important one from my point of view, is job loss mitigation. How are we going to protect those people that are going to lose their jobs because of AI? Because there are going to be new jobs required, but it seems like a lot of people are going to be, replaced. So what's going to happen to all this? These are questions that nobody has the answers to. And so in conclusion, just to finish, I will encourage you to jump into this AI revolution, take part in shaping and protecting our profession. This is a quote from Greg Brockman, who is the co-founder of OpenAI. He says, one thing I believe really deeply is that getting AI right is going to require participation from everyone. This technology just looks different from anything people had anticipated. So it's just something to keep in mind. We need to participate in this big change and do it together. And well, thank you very much for listening to this. As I was saying at the beginning, I'm very interested in AI. If you want to reach out and participate in some way, there's my email, bruno@digitalflow.ai. Please contact me, and I hope you enjoy this presentation. Thank you very much.